basically have a better sustain against that Fiora, but when as time goes by, Impunity, I feel like their team could easily pop off. You have the Fiora that is very strong in the late game. You have the Orianna that could instantly burst down if Alliance decides to climb up. Xayah can peel for herself in the late game and does a lot of damage. Rakan is just, doing Rakan things, attracting every single one. Find that knockup icon series, and with that said, I believe we are hopping into the loading screen already. And wow, looking at all the skins, KDA all out, Kai'Sa. Yeah, one of my favorite lines in terms of the WildRift skin. In fact, I'm sitting on a KDA chair myself. But ladies and gentlemen, with that said, we are hopping into game number 1. Alliance spawning on blue side, Impunity in the red. And it boils down to that vision game for Impunity. Whereas for Alliance, they have to try to pressure that bottom side because that bot lane of Impunity is looking very strong.
This is where I also wanted to point out, setting the bottom lane aside as well as the junglers aside, there is a really, I think, mismatch that will be happening in the mid here. I know that Orianna should fare well against Cryo on this Ziggs, but there always will be that threat that Ziggs' satchel charge can always displace you, or his satchel can always displace you and basically make you easier to get ganked by the Camille, whereas on the other end, Swirl doesn't really have any of that. That's why you're seeing him just play on the barrier, but the damage is insanity here. Just being, spotted out by Scarlet and Wrath. You got to be careful about their knockup because they can just follow up so quickly.
Yeah, Rakan and Xayah is a very strong wombo combo duo at the bottom side. So that's why Alliance really have to be careful. But your eyes on that Impunity ward at the Alliance side of that blue, immediately giving that information that Alliance is actually starting at red. So Impunity already actually cleared off most of the camps already with that side. So remember what we're talking about, Impunity. Apparently, well, Impunity does have the better clear, but it is the Shin Sakai who's actually in position already. So, Alliance favoring that early ganks. That's going to be that Alliance will be playing around right now.
You can see how quickly Shin Sakai is just ready to oppress the wave here. Sadly enough, I think he was spotted out by a ward, and that the wave really was pushed into the favor of Impunity there. So they're just going to be able to hold on to this turret. If they go for this dive, there still could be some pressure. I do like how that recall was simultaneous, and immediately after seeing that the Camille was there, look at how quickly Wild Boar doesn't waste any time and immediately works on the other side of the jungle. So Shin Sakai cannot get that one up in terms of the camps.
Yeah, a bit of a vertical jungling happening right there, but it is the Vi that's going to call the quits earlier on. And Impunity is going to get a lot of their money worth with that pixel ward and that pixel brush at the river. But at the same time, Alliance, CWJ and Cote d'Ivoire, remember what I said, it is all about hitting that vital points. That Akali picking up that footwork is, I would say, is one of the only few things that is actually keeping her alive from the pokes coming out from Cote d'Ivoire.
So fine. I do like how we get really quick recalls from the junglers. Even if they do say quits, right, for the moment, they still would have a lot of damage coming out here. The Vault Breaker connects, and he already has his Assault and Battery. Wild Boar strikes first and strikes hard, netting Impunity their first blood in this game.
Yeah, and that is actually a bit of a, I would say, overextension coming out from the side of Alliance because, I feel like they are ready to go, but the problem is that the Camille is not really at the right position to jump in. Unfortunately, it is Alliance that falls, giving that first bullet over to Impunity at the same time. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's the burp from 100%.
Carbonated. I told you, man. Carbonated.
Yeah,
but it's fun. It's fun to burp, I gotta say.
Not on stream. But the point being is this. Akali is already level 5, but Cote d'Ivoire actually has that level advantage. So maybe this is the right time to issue that grand challenge. But CWJs, they're both holding on to the ultimate. Dragon spawning at 22, but Wild Boar is just upping the ante. The Shockwave pulls the Janna round back and giving over another kill over the side of Impunity. A bit of a 1v1 happening at the bottom side, but the Scarlet Petal is the one that has the bot side priority, and therefore giving that Dragon priority over to Impunity. Alliance, they've got to do something right now. The Camille, as Shinseikai, is not really something that he's familiar with. Remember, we're talking about the fact that the leasing was actually taken away. Shinseikai has to make the Camille work, or Alliance might actually give game number 1 over to Impunity.
And here's the thing. There was also, I believe, Impunity taking away the Vi before Shinsekai can maybe even prospect to pick up the particular champion. And like you said, I think he's having a lot of issues here. There is a lot of mobility with Camille, but in terms of the ganking pressure, it seems like Vi got everything set in stone because 2 crowd control abilities that have a gap close as well. It's ridiculous, and it just gives like a singular dynamic entry point, but it seems like Shinsekai is returning the favor as bottom lane is being obliterated immediately by Alliance. Losing their Rakan doesn't really stop them because Scarlet Petal is able to set up the feathers just too much, too powerful, and will this Vault Breaker connect? Not gonna happen as Rich uses his Tornado to cancel it, but still in the end, that was a really good gank from Alliance, but Impunity answered back so quickly.
Yeah, that Vi is really pretty much ahead. With that AoE damage, we'll be able to burst down the side of Alliance. Alliance, they paid a little bit too much for their bottom side, and unfortunately, Impunity is the one that actually got that win in the team fight. And because of that, not only that, Impunity has the gold lead, they have that Dragon. Infernal Dragon means that they deal a lot of damage. A bit of lane swap action happening already from the side of Alliance. They really have to try to focus down onto that Rift Herald so that they can actually pick up the first first Rift Herald or first turret, but it is Alliance once again will be able to lock down Scarlet Petal, nowhere to be found, but unfortunately Raven actually taking a lot of damage as well. Wild Boar a bit too late for that team fight, but it's still okay because Impunity still has a lot of room to work with. They have the Drake, they have the early Drake, they had the perfect execution happening. Grand challenge was issued to kind of zone that out. Both of these top Baron laners, they are pretty even, and that's something that Alliance can probably hope, but you know, the first Rift Herald, the first turret is something that Alliance has to try to take down.
There is the lane swap that we saw just so that they can get control of this Rift Herald for at least both of the teams. But here we go. Trigger has been pulled, and immediately the Rakan as well as the Assault and Battery from the Vi. Impunity not gonna give you up, not gonna let you down, not gonna turn around and desert you. As Alliance, they had to use Ziggs' ultimate just to save off Impunity, but they don't matter. They don't care about that. They don't want the kills. They want the big objectives, and that Rift Herald will just be putty in the hands of Impunity. They get themselves a great advantage, and they're not done just yet. They force Alliance to go back into their base, but they're still working the top side here with the turret going down, even without using that RH.
Oh, remember what we're talking about. Alliance really need to look for that first turret go, but it is Impunity that snatch it right under their noses. Impunity, you remember what I'm talking about. They need the Alliance, they need that Rift Herald. Impunity took it away from them. Impunity, they also took away that first turret as well. That is gonna push that goal lead far ahead. And remember, Impunity, they have the late game hypers in the form of Scarlet Petal as well as that Fiora as well. Okay, Repose coming on top of that Raven a little bit. Will be able to burst that Quadrivore down. Raph coming a bit to the party a little bit too late, and Alliance, they're on the timer. They really have to try to close this game down, but it's gonna be very hard because fighting Impunity with that early massive gold lead in the early game, it's gonna be very hard for Alliance. It's gonna be a hard field battle.
Yeah, alright, thanks for dropping out that scoreboard. Definitely needed to see what was the pickups right now for the ADCs. As for the Kaisa, there is still no item for her, but the Xayah is already done with the Blade of the Ruined King. This could actually hurt the case of Alliance if Impunity tries to go again for another team fight. And like you said, with this amount of initiation that they do have, it is a threat that can be just so... I don't want to say threatening because I already said threat, but alarming for Alliance. In any case, the trade-off of the turrets have been actually neck and neck. There's a slight advantage in terms of the gold for Impunity, but you know that Alliance is able to just pick it back right out. But Impunity have done, like you said as well, is always getting that Dragon control. And here's the next point of contention. Big objective, Dragon.
Yeah, the Dwarf will be able to push that out, but SSK, he doesn't really have, he only has GA, and the fact that there's Umbro Glaive in the side of Wildboar already, but Rakan will be able to drag the fight on Alliance as the bomb's going in, but it is SSK. Raven dives on top, quite a bit already there to phase out. Grand Challenge is actually just triggering on top of Cryo, but at the same time, the fight is being split on both sides as Alliance. Slowly and bit by bit, their members are actually falling down. Impunity, okay, will be able to dodge the Mega Inferno Bomb. And it's just, well, Impunity, they took that dragon, they took that team fight a little bit. That Rakan just gonna, jump on top of it and sacrifice himself to make sure Impunity takes that Ocean Drake, take the second dragon of that game.
I love how both of the teams were able to play without their solo laners, because both CWJ and Coeur d'Ivoire were very late to the party. Actually, Coeur d'Ivoire was the latest one, because I think he was still walking from base to the mid lane. And even then, Impunity did a fantastic job at initiating the fight and even still surviving after such a numbers discrepancy, because CWJ was waiting on the Tri-Brush near the Dragon Pit. And he wanted to go for the big flanks, but he can't really connect just yet. He had to wait for Impunity to go in, or else he would have been bathed in the crowd controls that this red side team had. And I really do like how they were able to manage it, but still in the end, like you said, Impunity get that dragon, and again, in the end, that's all that matters. Initiations will be had here, and there's a big team fight coming in as well. Non-stop action here, my man, as there's just going to be a 3-man ult from Swirl. He lines everybody up, but the follow-up has to be true, although Scarlet Petal is still not here. They don't have the damage, they don't have the ADC, because he's pushing on the other side of the wave, other side of the map. And Alliance, even though they got the combo, they got comboed rather, they still did not falter, because again, Scarlet Petal was split pushing.
Yeah, and it's really putting Alliance on that timer, and it's actually going to be even true right now, because Impunity, they have the late game carry Cry, and you can see that Rift Herald being plunked down in the mid lane, trying to open up that map even further. I feel like right now Alliance, the way that can do is to use that Ziggs to split push. You can see the satchel charge going in, but it is Wabble who's actually already in that area, really trying to looking for that flank. SSK coming in from the side, but okay, just gonna get rooted by that Zaya, unfortunately. But Impunity, because their Baron laner, Akali is not very good at split pushing, right? Akali is more on a champion killing machine, whereas Coeur d'Ivoire, Fiora does have a bonus attack speed with the Blade Works, as well as she scales based on AD, and well, she has a better pushing power as compared to that Akali.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and I think Akali has decent, wave clear and split pushing capability, but when you put them in a 1 versus 1, Coeur d'Ivoire should always just have the 1-up, just because you have your power, you have your Grand Challenge, everything to keep you topped off in the 1 versus 1s, and that's what you're seeing CWJ just kind of just control the waves rather than threatening the split push, just because I think Impunity here has all the threat in the world. Now, Impunity will be starting to get the Scuttler as Wild Boar slaps it away. Shinsekai would have wanted to Smite steal that, not gonna happen, and here we go. This is what I was talking about. CWJ, he puts so much respect to Coeur d'Ivoire, not only because there's a lot of dueling, but Vital Point is such a disgusting passive to go up against. He just takes so much damage, and CWJ, he only has a Lanyard's Torment. And, I mean, Coeur d'Ivoire deals AD damage. He doesn't have anything to, tank that.
Yeah, and you can see the Camille, Shin Sakai is slowly building himself towards the Triforce, a very expensive item to be building. Whereas if you compare it over to the Vi, Umbral Glaive is a very cheap item. In fact, it's a better replacement as compared to Yomu after the nerf, and already building towards the armor item as well as a health item. And of course, with the help of GA, that Vi is going to take a lot more punishment. And there we go, the shockwave coming on top, and as the wombo combo are coming out, the monsoon going in won't be able to disengage Impunity. They want that Drake, and they're trying to look for that. At the same time, Scarlet Petal a bit late to the party as well. The Feather Strike will be used. But then again, it is a win over to the side of Impunity. Impunity looking very strong. They'll be able to take down this Drake, and they take 3-4-2.
I just gotta say as well, there is a big misposition there for both Cryo and Raven, if I'm not mistaken. They just walked up, and they got caught by a Phantom Ball of Swirled. They got gobbled up by that by that ultimate Shockwave. Yeah, thank you very much. And it just lined them up. Their Alliance, after their mid laner and ADC got caught, they poured heals, disengage as quickly as they can to keep them alive. And Impunity's Scarlet Petal wasn't even there in the fight. The threat wasn't even, completed. And as Impunity just came in, there wasn't really much the Alliance could do. And now Impunity are starting to build up a lead. They got map control. They got Scarlet Petal in such a good position. And this Baron is already being ripe for the taking.
Yeah, and Impunity, don't forget, they have 3 Drakes in their pockets. They have more turrets, they have more gold. Shin Shekai trying to scrounging up as much gold as possible as he goes golden. The charm coming in from the side of Rav, but he will fall from that Kai'Sa. But at the very least, Alliance will be able to do that pick-off because of the fact that Rav tries to engage and Alliance, they burned that ultimate. So Impunity, they're just going to rotate it over to that Baron, try to take that down, try to end the game. But Scarlet Petal receiving a lot of damage from their bombs. The only way the Alliance can actually claw back up to the game is to allow Shin Shekai to farm up just a little bit more and use that Ziggs to poke as much as possible. Try to weaken down the side of Impunity before they engage.
I did not expect Cryo to deal this much damage. Like, he just hits a bit.
Yep.
He just hits a few of his abilities, and he basically obliterates every single one of them. Shinsekai, a bit too deep in enemy territory. That's what what happens when you're the Survey Corps. That's what happens when you're, Attack on Titan. Anyways, he's gonna get burned off here, and Raven goes in two-hand. We're talking about. You have the capability to dive in, you have the damage, but there's a lot of shield, a lot of crowd control from Impunity, and Raven pulling the trigger too quickly, too aggressively will net Impunity to go in and try to get this Baron without the ADC of Alliance. This is not looking too good as the pincer goes in. Cryo forced to use his Zonia's Hourglass, and CWJ, he's got to pick it back out into the backline as well. But look at this, SSK is in no man's land. He had to sacrifice himself to allow the carries of Alliance to live on through, but that Baron is still a credible threat as 5 members of Impunity are still alive here, ladies and gentlemen. CWJ, Shockwave once again, and Swirled is swirling his opponents in a mixture of shockwaves. This is going to be the alley-oop. Cryo uses his ultimate there, and almost CWJ, oh no, not gonna happen, as Wild Boar had the smite to take the last hit on that Baron, and Impunity with a wild and big swing, rather.
Yeah, you can see the Alliance, they're not really focusing on the team fight, and Swirl is just putting so much pressure at the back line. You can see the Kali trying so hard, trying to get that Baron, trying to steal that off, but Wild Boar had that smite ready on the thumb, and the smite is done down, and with that Baron buff, Impunity side, they'll be able to push and penetrate right down into the Nexus. Wild Boar once again jumping on in, not going to give Alliance a single form of rest, as Impunity is just going to hammer on top of Nexus as Impunity take game number 1.
That was so good from Impunity.
Yeah.
And honestly, there was members of Alliance really caught them off guard, and it's always Cryo and Raven at the receiving end of that. That's never what you want to happen. You want to at least have your front line or, the non-essentials get carried away by the ult, but it's